Hey guys, how's it going? It is my different username here, and today we will be talking about a unique submachine gun, one that had truly made a name for itself back in the past, and now generations later, its technical grandson has drastically innovated its way to the modern age, sticking around enough to provide tons of ergonomic advancements while also needing to defy the odds that the future has to offer. So here we have the CZ Scorpion EVO 3 submachine gun made out of Lego. And before we get too carried away with the CZ Scorpion, I wanted to take one moment to talk about today's sponsor, Hunting Clash. So, if you haven't heard of Hunting Clash, well hey, don't worry about it. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. Hunting Clash is a free-to-play hunting simulator that's got so much additional content in mind that it actually outcompetes a lot of the games that you see on the market, and has several different types of weapons. Well, okay, maybe not weapons like this. Give me 1 second. Oh, hey. And with weapons like this, there's actually several different types of customization that you can do too, either being patterns or camouflages or even different types of skins available in the game. You can explore several different types of environments, as well as being able to locate and track all these different rare types of animals that you would never see in all these environments, and it's all available within the game, and essentially you can play anywhere, even from the inside of your own home. And the prizes can be tough, so make sure that you upgrade your arsenal and even train your K9 to the task at hand to make sure that you get above the edge of that of the competition. If you guys want to download the game, the link for it is in the description down below, as well as a QR code right here on the little screen as well. It helps support videos like this. Oh wait, here, another second, just oh, hey, there you go. And actually help support videos just like this one right here. And Hunting Clash is so cool that they even gave us a personal code for you guys all to use to help you get 100 gold, 70 skill tokens, 2 mythical lore cards, all for free in the very beginning. And that's thanks to Hunting Clash. So if you guys want to download the game, I say go right ahead and download it. And with all that said, let's actually get right back to the video. So, the CZ Scorpion, or what's also known as the EVO 3A1, is the submachine gun developed and created by the CZ company based out in the Czech Republic back in 2009, and ever since has been in service by many different countries used by their own respected special forces. And this weapon was made to be extremely modular, giving the users many options of choice for different types of engagements. And this is in CZ's third generation of weapon systems, which is why it actually takes the name EVO 3 in relation to its predecessor from generation 1, which was the VZ61 Scorpion. And I even have a video made on this too, if any of you haven't seen it before. But now we are in the future and have made several improvements since the 60s, so we can start off at the trigger and grip area. The grip is set at a very unique angle and is reinforced from 3 different spots with brackets and other Technic pieces, making the entire build feel very sturdy. And moving up, we have the trigger and fire selector. This trigger is brick built and for once actually has some interaction with the safety and actually engages, causing the trigger to cease completely. And the other 3 firing modes are all free to use and allow the trigger to work properly. But it isn't perfect, however, and a simple pull would break its tension very easily, and how I would typically add tension before would just be by placing my finger against the selector piece while holding the safety down and pulling the trigger. So it's still not the best, but we're definitely getting closer and closer to the best type of mechanism as we move further. And right here we have the stock, and this is pretty much the standard stock piece you would find on any of these types of submachine guns. They handle a pretty decent majority of tasks, such as being able to not only fold with the click of a button, but it could even lock itself in this position, making maneuvering around a lot more manageable, and to simply pry down the spot and flip it back into place will bring the stock right back into action. If we go to the back, we can adjust the size of the stock too. Just by grabbing this bit here, it can take up to 3 different positions, giving the user more range of pull. Gotta say, this is pretty nice. Right here we have the magazine and the release system for the Scorpion EVO. With a simple click, we can pull out this 35 round magazine, which contains pretty subtle details like the 9mm round on the very top, and especially these pieces with the open ridge in the back. That was more or less my attempt at trying to replicate the look of the back of the actual mags. Not that great,
But when it actually comes to inserting the magazine, I gotta say, it actually is really smooth, despite the fact that the flaring of the magwell doesn't actually work as it should, and the release here was fully and intentionally built to not budge or break while using, and the real life system is ambidextrous, but in a weird way this was actually still kinda ambidextrous too, just because of how open the trigger guard was, which was kinda great. But despite the fact that the rubber band was actually embedded inside of it, I would typically say that this is kind of an ugly looking system, but hey, you know, if it works, and I gotta say, it actually works really well. Now, moving on to the receiver area, and no, I actually don't mean these letter tiles here, although I gotta say, I am really happy with the way these turned out, and if we flip this over, we could take a good look at the bolt for the CZ. This was designed with the idea that the bolt could remain fully functional, being able to be pulled back and reciprocate forward on its own accord. So even though the charging handle can operate the bolt via pulling back and even locking in place like an H&K style charging handle, it isn't truly connected to it. In fact, the moment the bolt is held back by something like the bolt catch here, the charging handle becomes loose and ineffective, kind of similar to how I built the TAR-21 from before too. As well, another feature of the charging handle is the ability for it to switch over from one side to the other, making it a more universal setup for any type of shooter. Just by switching around a few pieces, we could take the handle from the left side over to the right, and just like that, we have made the same exact look as the Evo had from the game Black Ops 2, and I actually kind of think it's awkward to put it in this position, but hey, at least you could set it up for any kind of use, right? Practical or not. Moving forward, we have our 7-inch barrel handguard piece, and this is an M-LOK handguard here with a few Picatinny rails already added to it, such as the two you see on the sides and a longer one at the very bottom. As we can already tell, this handguard is pretty small, so small in fact that it actually always comes with this hand stop here, which really ensures that the user doesn't get their hand too close to the muzzle brake and injure themselves while shooting. Speaking of the muzzle device, we actually do have one set in place, and this is a pretty standard looking muzzle brake that was pretty close in mind to the looks of the actual gun itself. And checking out the top of the gun, we have the full length rail that you can see going from near the front all the way to the very back of the receiver, and on top of that we see both our front sight and rear sight, and these sights were specifically made from the CZ Carbine sights, and they have a really nice look to them, such as the front sight here with its front notch being all nice and crisp with metal ears to surround that, as well as the aperture sight in the rear sight with the back of that being surrounded by adjustment rings. And aiming this is just a breeze, pretty straightforward and really nice to look down. So, in conclusion, the LEGO CZ Scorpion EVO 3 is really an all-around beast. I mean, not only does it have great ergonomics set up for the most optimal shooting imagined, but it's even very inexpensive with its own parts as well, meaning that effort that would normally be spent on a better weapon could actually be spent instead tricking out your build, which reminds me, there's actually a whole lot more to this that I gotta show you, and it's all gotta start with this piece right here. And technically, this is the pin area that would be used to remove the trigger control from the receiver of the real weapon. However, on my model, I actually got a little creative and decided to do this pin here to hold something else instead. And how we can remove this is actually by grabbing this disassembly tool that I had made for this weapon system, and it's hidden inside of the grip of the Scorpion to make disassembly easier. We could pick up this 1x1 plate by using the one side and then taking the other end to poke out the pin. Now we can have our pin even fully retained into the grip once again, and with just a little wiggle of the rail system up top, now we have just removed our original handguard piece, which is great to see all the details of both the parts, but now we can actually replace it with another handguard that we've made. This right here is the carbine length handguard available for the LEGO Scorpion EVO 3. And this handguard is a lot longer than the other one and happens to run at a length of about 11.5 inches, but essentially does the exact same thing as the previous handguard. The charging handle functions and can even lock back, but here we have an angular front end which contains even more M-LOK slots and even this flash can coming out of the barrel area, which is a cool addition. You could even take it further and add other muzzle devices to this area, like an actual suppressor to have embedded into the handguard, or just remove all that, have a regular looking muzzle brake coming out of the front end, or just take that barrel piece and also add it to the suppressor to the end of that, which I think this and adding the extended stock would definitely put this weapon at its longest length available. What's even cooler is that all the muzzle devices that we saw here are also able to be attached to this handguard too, which can make for some fun customization. But what if we could actually make this shorter? And apparently you can. So, introducing the last handguard that we have available, here is the CZ Micro Handguard. Running at about 6 inches in length, this was especially requested by some special forces who desired a weapon so small and compact that it can handle the most critical of CQC. And this here can charge back and lock just like the others, as well as having a small barrel and shroud to go around that. At the same time though, this could also be tricked out with just a regular muzzle brake, a flash can, or even a massive suppressor. And this shares another similarity to the other handguard, where this thing is so small that it could actually be more of a danger to the user himself. So another hand stop is actually available. And this one was actually designed for M-LOK systems instead, and attaches via the 1x2 piece underneath the railing. We have other available mounts as well, but with our regular Picatinny rail system, we need attachments that are only available in the 1913 mounting system. And fortunately, we do have something. Introducing the vertical foregrip for the Scorpion EVO. And this can attach, well, really anywhere on any part of the rail system that you may seem fit or necessary, and this grip is pretty strong too, giving the CZ some more controllability while using. As well, it would be kind of cool to even maybe see what we were aiming at without always having to go over to those iron sights all the time. So, also introducing the Lego Light/Laser Combo. This here is based off of the design of the Sightmark Low Pro Mini Combo, and that device features both a laser and light system, which made me realize I had to step up my game because I've only been able to separate those devices before, but now this is a lot more legit, and we can even remove this side cover here to access the flashlight piece, and as well access the other panel too to reach the laser. Once that's done, close it up and enjoy the show. It can even be placed back onto the weapon, although, gotta say, it does take up quite a lot of our viewing space though, which definitely makes placing it on the other side probably a better choice, but now it's like, how do we access our controls? Well, it's a good thing that this also comes with a pressure pad too, and this is actually used in order to link up the light to really any position needed while not sacrificing your grip on the weapon. This isn't truly functional, but it is nice to have the feeling there, and overall it is really neat to have these accessories feel like they're really coming to life, because it just makes the experience all that more authentic. But when it comes to all these different types of accessories, they're all linked to what seems to be Picatinny rails. So how do we take all of these attachments and place them on, let's say, something like the Carbine handguard? Well, that's when we could actually take this little adapter here, which essentially is an M-LOK to Picatinny adapter piece and can easily be made in order to mount these accessories. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come up with a good idea for an underbarrel version of this adapter for something like the foregrip, so I instead turned to making an angled foregrip, which happens to be one of my favorite grips to use as well. But to be fair, this whole setup is starting to look pretty amazing, but that's all I had to show off when it came to the front end of this gun, and if you think that's the end of it, you would be sadly mistaken. If we go down below, we actually have a plethora of options when it comes to selecting our sources of ammo too. Right here, we have our normal 35 round magazine, which is a pretty typical banana shaped magazine, and it's no different when it comes to the CZ Scorpion. But if we were to replace that and let's say grab ourselves a new magazine, and here we can actually take out our literal Lego banana magazine for the Scorpion EVO. And this magazine has the exact same capacity as the other magazine, but features ammo cased in aluminum instead of brass to actually help differentiate the colors a bit. And I even added some blue tape below to add some contrast, and I don't know, I just kind of think it looks really cool. There are brown 1x1s scattered all around to signify the bruising of the banana's skin, as well as on the side here we have an actual dull sticker that I went to the store and bought some bananas to get, which I thought was good enough until I shared the same idea with Cole Edmondson, and he ended up drawing an entire graphic and even ended up making it out as a sticker too. But unfortunately I didn't have enough time to actually get it shipped and delivered available for this video, but just do know that there is a cooler version of the sticker out there. It's just not the dull sticker, unfortunately. Up next, we have a completely different magazine design overall, and this one is the 50 round drum mag available for the Scorpion EVO. Now, there are plenty of drum magazine designs out there for the Scorpion EVO, but there's one only specifically designed just like this. It features a bullet sitting on top as well as a viewable window down below in the back where you could even see more of your ammo available. Under that is some more subtle detail like this stipple pattern here that you see on the bottom. Inserting this magazine reminds you of just how good the magazine release has to be because of all the significant weight related to the magazine. Even though I could never really drop a magazine free with the normal stick mags, with the drum mag, that is no issue at all, and it can drop free with just one press of the button. Now, moving on to our last and final magazine design, probably the most challenging one by far. Here we have the 20 round magazine for the CZ. And this is not a joke, even though it may look like one, but this actually is supposed to be a translucent magazine. But given the fact that this curves and I wanted to make it hold legitimately 20 rounds of 9mm ammo, I will just say that we are very, very far away from anything like that happening, because it almost was seeming impossible to do. But who knows, maybe one day I could actually go through with making a curved translucent magazine, but as far as I'm aware, it's not going to be really possible to do anytime soon, which really is okay, because at least my favorite one by far is just the 35 round magazine. Not only is it the standard one, but it also has the best look, I think, compared to the rest of the build. And I didn't stop at magazines. We even have a choice of changing even the stock systems out. And if you noticed earlier, you may have seen this little pinhole here, which actually is what holds the stock piece in place. We can go back to our favorite little disassembly tool once again and use this to actually punch in that little hole and release the pin out of the slot, which releases the entire stock completely. And this stock is already pretty cool, but I did want to make other options available. So the other ones that I saw to build were pistol braces, and this brace here can fold into place just like the stock can, but doesn't actually retract in any way because it's actually meant to sleeve and brace your whole arm instead. What makes this design really cool though is the fact that it features a pretty slick design in the middle portion, as well as being able to be slanted down much more like a traditional stock piece would, which in terms actually creates a really comfortable hold, and even when folded is very comfortable to use as well. It just doesn't lock into place like the other stock would. So, if we were to replace that and take this other pistol brace option instead, we actually end up with a much wider set that actually is retractable, but in terms actually takes up less space than the other versions. It doesn't fold like the others do, but when retracted can take up significantly less space than when it is extended. It has up to 3 different positions and works via this toggle button in the middle area, and has an area in the back to slot your arm and brace it inside of the actual mount. This option is probably one of my favorites, just considering how sleek and covert it really is, but you're probably looking at this wondering, how is it even possible to take off with this huge of a mount being attached? Well, that's where this longer portion of the disassembly tool really comes into play, and it's actually fully needed to get the pin to release completely, and just like that, the pistol brace can be removed entirely. From this point, we can just rock out with our stock out and have no stock on the weapon, which definitely serves more of that of a pistol route and gives the 20 round magazine great potential as an option to use in conjunction. But of course, nothing will ever beat the stock. And finally, after taking on so many different challenges for this build, I figured I wasn't even done enough at this point. Now, in the past, I've always had a problem with micro red dots not being able to be illuminated by the actual light brick given out by LEGO, simply because of the size of the brick itself and considering the size of the red dot too. But now I present a new solution to this, and that happens to be risers. And it's actually cool because risers in real life happen to be used on micro red dots and will elevate them to a more relative height instead. So I brought that innovation here as well in the form of using that space from the riser to hold the light brick, and now using the riser and light brick in conjunction, we could take my Viper red dot from the past that could never work before, and with the click of a button, we now have a working red dot on it. And honestly, I probably should have changed out the batteries before filming this, but I still think this emphasizes the fact that I at least got the red dot to finally work. Considering the discovery of using risers to create the illumination within smaller red dots, I finally figured out that the solution really was just that space necessary, and once you find that, you can almost essentially create anything within that space, which happens to also include another red dot design, and this one here is the Romeo 5 by Sig Sauer. It's a really sleek looking red dot system trusted by many, and just like you had seen previously before, using this little piece right here on the site, once clicked into place, will actually turn on the red dot, and just like that, you have now a new tunnel vision red dot, and this one actually happens to be a lot bigger, I've noticed, compared to the Viper, so it almost could be considered that of almost like a higher MOA. At least it kind of gives off that impression to me. But as far as that goes, this is about as much as I've actually done as far as creating new red dots, and of course anyone who's been a fan of the channel will already know that this is already compatible easily with my holographic system in mind, and this is based off of the EOTech holographic site, and the reticle really is just that of a bigger dot, and it's not necessarily a holographic reticle, but at least its giant window gives probably without a doubt the best visual presentation of the dot over all of the other optics that we have here. But at the same time, it is also the biggest option that you could possibly get. And just like that, I think that about wraps up everything I could possibly make for the Scorpion. There was something about the modularity of the CZ Scorpion that I had mentioned earlier that was just so profound to me that I felt the need to make this so customizable that you could essentially create anything you want out of one weapon system, which honestly is really inspiring to me. And if you guys feel the need to even show off some of your customization too, there should be instructions available for this down below in the link in the description. As well, I just want to give another thank you to Hunting Clash for sponsoring this video. It's because of awesome games like them that we can have awesome videos like this one here, and I hope you all have really enjoyed this build and video. If you guys have enjoyed, like, favorite, and subscribe if you want to see more LEGO weapons made later in the future, and as always, thanks for watching.